high above Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh on a 21-degree bitter cold day. The wind chill factor at -3, but this capacity crowd of better than 59,000 are ready for this AFC Divisional playoff. Yes, the terrible towels are back, and they are rocking here at Three Rivers. Hi, everybody. I'm Marv Albert along with Chris Collinsworth, and as reported earlier, the Bills perennial All-Pro, in fact, the inspirational leader of their defensive unit, Bruce Smith, is out with the flu. Definitely out of today's contest back home in Buffalo. So the starter at right defensive end will be the much-traveled Carl Wilson.
And the natural tendency is to write off the Buffalo Bills, but I'm not going to do it. At the beginning of the season, nobody liked this football team to win the Eastern Division, and then so many injuries, so many problems with this team. Andre Reed out, their coach Marv Levy missed games, Henry Jones on down the list, star after star. So this team has been overcoming adversity all season long.
And for the Pittsburgh Steelers, right throughout the latter portion of the season, it's been a new offensive philosophy with lots of new wrinkles. We talked about it after practice yesterday with head coach Bill Cowher, and he said he will not alter his style in the playoffs.
But I think that changes now with Bruce Smith out of this ball game. They get Eric Pegram and Bam Morris back. They missed the Green Bay ball game a couple of weeks ago, and Jim Jeffcoat and Carl Wilson, the replacements for Bruce Smith, are much more pass rushers than they are run stoppers. So I think you're going to see Pittsburgh trying to go after those guys on the ground.
And after experiencing the noise at Lambeau Field a couple of weeks back, Bill Cowher made it clear that he's invited Steeler fans to crank up the volume. He said, I'm not going to be as subtle as I've been in the past. I'm going to do what Mike Holmgren did with their fans. So he's been saying, hey, let's do it here in Pittsburgh. We want the place rocking and rolling. And Buffalo Bills head man Marv Levy, who has done a terrific job this season. This is 10th year as head coach of the Bills. The Steelers have won the toss and receiving the kickoff from Steve Christie. Ernie Mills with the return and gets out to the 24-yard line. A 21-yard return by Mills. And there is Neil O'Donnell, who has had a brilliant season. 59% efficiency, 19 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. He has been a perfect fit in the context of this Pittsburgh offense. And up front, a line that has done a good job. John Jackson, Tom Newberry back as the starter. Pro Bowler DeMonte Dawson, the rookie Brendan Sty, and Leon Searcy. John L. Williams and Eric Pegram are the running backs. You see the receivers. Thigpen, who had a tremendous season. Mills, the tight end Bruner, when they go to the 3 wide. The rookie from Colorado, who has really started up, Cordell Stewart, comes on. So the Steelers from their 24-yard line. And Eric Pegram gets the call. Stopped by Cornelius Bennett. And a look at that Buffalo defensive unit up front without Bruce Smith. So it is Carl Wilson making his second start of the season. Started against Houston in the season finale. Bryce Pop, the NFL's Defensive Player of the Year, leading the league with 17.5 sacks. Cornelius Bennett also with an outstanding season. And Schultz and Darby are the deep men. The handoff for Pegram. And lost a yard on the play. Carl Wilson making the stop. We were chatting with Carl Wilson yesterday. I refer to him as the much-traveled Carl Wilson. 8 years in the league. Out of LSU, he has made 9 stops. He actually had 2 go-arounds with the Miami Dolphins, which is kind of a positive thing. They wanted him back a second time, Chris.
Right, and it didn't take him long to get into the action. Right off the bat, he makes a tackle.
It is a 3rd down and 9 at the 25-yard line. And O'Donnell on a timing pattern, able to complete for the first time a Yancey Thigpen, a 14-yard gain.
The Buffalo Bills tried to come after Neil O'Donnell with a safety blitz. That was Matt Darby coming up the middle. And for Yancey Thigpen, this has to take a little bit of pressure off of him. He made that drop against the Green Bay Packers that cost his team the game there. And to come right back here early in this ball game and make a catch just settles him down.
85 catches in the regular season for Thigpen. He picked up the first down. Pegram finding some room. Eric Pegram has spent 4 years with Atlanta's side as a free agent. He's been a terrific pickup for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Phil Hansen, one of the underrated defensive linemen of the NFL, making the stop.
The other thing that happens with Bruce Smith out of the lineup, now you give Pittsburgh a chance to focus their attention on the left side of Buffalo's defense. Bryce Pop over there and Phil Hansen. Without Bruce Smith, those are the two best guys in that front seven.
It is a 2nd and 7 at the 41. We're just underway with no score, and O'Donnell able to complete to Thigpen. It is a 34-yard pass play. Turner and Darby wrestling Thigpen down inside the 20.
And you can see the comfort level of Neil O'Donnell. Obviously now they're taking out Bryce Pop. Bryce Pop is not getting there because of the double team. The single blocks over on Carl Wilson and Ted Washington. The protection is tremendous, and Neil O'Donnell is hot.
And a timeout is being called when we resume here at Three Rivers. It will be a first down at the 16, apparently an official timeout. They did not have the chains in place. O'Donnell opening up 2 of 2 for 56 yards. Mills to the right and Thigpen to the left. That is Stewart, number 10, in motion. O'Donnell swinging it. And a short pickup for Pegram. Bennett was right there. Cornelius Bennett, who has successfully made the transition to the inside, able to get the reps on the running back, Pegram.
And there was some discussion amongst ourselves. Perhaps Cornelius Bennett might go to the outside to be more of a pass rusher. But Wade Phillips, the defensive coordinator, told me just before the game that they would not do that. He has become too valuable as an inside linebacker. He can make many more plays inside.
Loss of a couple. It's a 2nd and 12 of the 18. 7th play of this opening drive. And here's Pegram. Inside the 5. He went for 13.
And now after opening the game, going to the right, they come back towards Bruce Smith's side. That has to be the game plan here. And the blocking down the field, tremendous. But the point of attack for this ball game, both with the passing game and the running game, unquestionably will be left.
It will be a 1st and goal down at the 1-yard line. John L. Williams getting the call. Rare carry for John L., who's noted as a pass receiver. Monty Brown able to stuff him at the line. John L. Williams slowed by a preseason knee injury. Bill Cowher was telling us yesterday that this is actually as healthy as he has been, and he says the same of Bam Morris and Eric Pegram, who have struggled with injuries as of late. It is now Morris and Pegram in the backfield. 9th play of this opening drive. Williams for the touchdown. John L. Williams taking it in from a yard away, and the Steelers with a 6-0 lead. 9 plays, 76 yards in 5.5 minutes.
And once again, the power of that off week. John L. Williams, if he had to play a game last week, probably would not have been ready, or at least as ready, for this one against the Bills.
Norm Johnson with the extra point. And with 9:29 remaining in this first quarter, it is Pittsburgh with a 7-0 lead on Buffalo. We'll be back at Three Rivers in a moment.
When it comes to travel, there are two companies who can cover the world like nobody else.
Who knows this stadium very well, growing up in East Brady, which is about 60 miles northeast of Pittsburgh. In fact, had to round up 30 tickets for friends and relatives for today's game, getting set to take the field for the first time as Norm Johnson will kick it off to the combination of Eric Holmes and Tim Tyndale.
Jim said he had to cut it off at 30. There were about 300 that had requests.
The Steelers with a 7-0 lead. The winner today going on to the AFC Championship game. And here's Holmes on the return. Able to break a tackle, bring it across the 30-yard line. He went for 21. Deon Figures on the tackle. Well, the Buffalo front line, they played well. Fina, Ruben Brown out of the University of Pittsburgh, Kent Cole, Jerry Ostrowski. We'll also see Corbin Lucina at right guard and Glenn Parker. Thurman Thomas coming off the 158-yard day last week. Steve Tasker able to give it a shot, as reported earlier on the pregame show, playing with a pulled tendon in the back of his left leg. 1st and 10 from the 31, and Thomas tried the right side, but it was closed by Ray Seals. Picked up a yard on the play. Buckner, Steed, and Seals, who's had a tremendous season up front. When they are in the dime, which you'll see most of the way against the K-gun, that is the alignment of the 6 defensive backs. 2nd down and 9. And Kelly able to complete to the tight end, Lonnie Johnson. Met by Jerry Olszewski, who is starting for Chad Brown, although Brown is available, making it back from the injured ankle.
And one of the things that Jim Kelly wanted to do early was hit some short, quick passes to slow down that pass rush, give his offensive line a chance against this great pass rush from the Steelers.
Kelly looking at a 3rd down and 5 at the 36. And again, the short pass, we'll have to see where they spot Lonnie Johnson's reception. Myron Bell, the strong safety, right there.
Kelly just trying to get the football out of there, and Lonnie Johnson really not doing anything except just going down about 4 or 5 yards and turning around, and got just enough for the 1st down.
So he did pick it up. It's a 1st down at the 42-yard line. Pittsburgh 7, Buffalo nothing. A fake end around, which has been very successful for the Bills, and then Thomas is pulled down, but a penalty flag is thrown. Cornell Lake up from left corner to make the stop on Thurman Thomas. A look at the referee, Larry Nemmers, and we'll have our first call of the day. Could be a face mask.
Face mask on the defense, 5 yards. 5 yards will be tacked on to into the run. Repeat, 1st down.
Bill Cowher not too happy about the call. Cornell Lake was left out in the open field against Thurman Thomas, and at that point you're grabbing for anything you can get hold of. But what a job Cornell Lake has done for this football team this year. The Pro Bowl safety that had to play corner because of the injuries to Rod Woodson and Deon Figures.
And made the Pro Bowl at left corner, although he made it as the starting strong safety, though he's played left corner for most of the season. Nice hole for Thomas. And he has the 1st down. He picked up 6 on the play. Jason Gilden on the stop.
It was interesting talking with Thurman Thomas, who was getting up slowly after that one, and the way that he's been playing lately, that would be as big a blow as was Bruce Smith. And he's limping. This is a major blow. If the Buffalo Bills needed any more bad news, Thurman Thomas, in the way that he's been playing lately, he has just carried this football team. 158 yards rushing against the Miami Dolphins last week, his season high, and I don't know, Marv, just doesn't look like he's going to be able to go again. Wow.
Well, they called for the measurement. It is a first down, but the concern involves an injured Thurman Thomas who comes limping over. Here's another look at it. He took the hit from Carnell Lake.
Lake gave him the hit, and then it looked like he fell over another tackler that was at his knees, and that may have been where the injury occurred.
So the rookie from Portland State, Eric Holmes, replacing Thomas, and Holmes able to unleash to the 36-yard line. A 13-yard run. He was stopped by the free safety, Darren Perry. Holmes has done this right throughout, but normally provides a nice change of pace for Thomas.
But against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the slow developing plays, the counter trays, the ones that take a little time to develop, don't work as well. Thurman Thomas told us last night that he thought the direct hits at this defense would be much more effective. So maybe not that big a loss, Derek Holmes being in there instead of Thurman Thomas, because that's what he does best.
And you can see Kelly making a play change and then firing one that ends up going through the hands of Andre Reed. Andre Reed, who's made it back from a pulled hamstring after missing 10 games, did not have a reception last week in his return against Miami.
And I thought that was a good idea. Just throw it out there and try and get the ball in the hands of Andre Reed to get him into the flow of the ball game.
A 2nd and 10 at the 36-yard line, and here is Holmes on a stutter step again, taking advantage of a good hole, and he has a first down.
I think Thurman Thomas ought to be a coach. He knew exactly the way to attack, and you can see Thurman still limping on the sideline. But they're going right behind Reuben Brown, the rookie, who managed to get off on the linebacker there. Nice little combination block, and so far this Buffalo Bills offensive line picking up where they did a week ago.
And again, Holmes on first down. Derek Holmes, a 7th-round draft pick. The Buffalo Bills' 2nd pick. On the 7th round, had a very strong preseason and emerged as a major surprise, and certainly valuable when Thurman Thomas had some difficulties. The problem with the cramps earlier in the season, hamstring earlier in the season. 2nd down and 6 at the 21-yard line. And again, Kelly with the audible. And then, of course, the crowd gets louder to make things more difficult for the Bills. It could be a mix-up there. Holmes hit for the loss. Chased down by Carnell Lake.
In this ball game, Jim Kelly is going to have to remember that now he has Derek Holmes in the backfield, a rookie. You don't want to be spending that much time audibling at the line of scrimmage. He's an excitable kid. Just call the play, let him run it, because otherwise he's going to make some mistakes like that one.
And a loss of 13. Kelly getting the time and goes incomplete, intended for Andre Reed. Covered by Randy Fuller.
Good man coverage on the outside. The Steelers in with their dime package. Randy Fuller with the coverage. But that loss by Derek Holmes now puts Steve Christie in a very difficult position, having to kick a 52-yard field goal instead of what would have been about a 40-yard kick.
Well, Christie did hit from 48 last week. Line drives it short. So the Steelers able to hold the Bills on this opening series, and they're up 7-zip.
Stadium in Pittsburgh. I'm Jim Gray. Well, Thurman Thomas injured his right ankle. He is now being examined by the trainers. They're going to retape it up and take a look at it. He is hopeful to return. He tried to work it out, sprint up and down the sidelines. He's having a little trouble cutting, but he wants to return. Marv?
All right, Jim. Pittsburgh Steelers with a 7-0 lead on the Buffalo Bills. Just under 5 minutes gone by in this first quarter. Steelers first down from their 42-yard line. Van Morris has a first down. Ankle tackled by Monty Brown, and Morris runs for 12 yards.
And that time the Buffalo Bills tried to flip-flop. They put Bryce Popp on the other side from which he usually plays, and so they're just running away from Bryce Popp right now. That's one of the nice things when you got Bruce Smith out of the game. You find number 95 and run it the other way.
expressed earlier this season, Van Mars, overweight, had some back problems, got off to a slow start, very disappointing, but he has come on in recent weeks. This is Mars once again. Nose tackle, Ted Washington on the stop.
And Greg Lloyd and Bill Cowher were really going at it on the sideline when they got back. They were right in each other's face, going toe-to-toe, and I'm sure it has something to do with the scheme of things. I was a little surprised to see the Steelers coming out and playing so much of their dime defensive formation with the 6 defensive backs out there, and that may be what Lloyd's saying.
Bills in motion, 2nd and 5 at the Buffalo 41. O'Donnell, and that broken up. Pass intended for Yancey Thigpen, but the excellent coverage by the right corner, Thomas Smith.
Double team on the backside against Bryce Popp. And then just an excellent play. It looked like maybe Thomas Smith had his arm wrapped around Yancey Thigpen. The rule on that is, however, if you don't twist him, it's okay. But you can see now that almost every single play they're sending it back after Bryce Popp for the double team.
3rd and 5. Cordell Stewart lined up in the slot to the far right. And the pass caught by Stewart for the first down. The left corner, the rookie from Ohio State, Marlon Kerner, on the tackle. It's good for 7 and a Steeler first down.
Wade Phillips came with a safety blitz on this one, and that forces man coverage with Marlon Kerner going against Cordell Stewart. And as the Steelers found out in their own practice, they had Cordell Stewart working against their defense. They said nobody we had could cover him, so we decided to put him on the field and let him play a little offense for us.
And Bill Cowher refers to as slash, as in quarterback slash receiver. It is Mars on a slant. It is all working here for Pittsburgh. The diversified offense that Bill Cowher promised is being utilized. Brown and Jeffcoat made the stop. It'll be a 2nd down and 2 just outside the 25.
This time Jim Jeffcoat in the game instead of Carl Wilson, and they're just taking it right to him. They came down with the tight end, and they're just blowing Buffalo off the ball right now. Bruce Smith, sitting at home watching this one, has to be struggling emotionally.
We're coming up on 2 minutes remaining in the first quarter. And back to the ground. Mars. And then right to the marker. Monty Brown, Phil Hansen combining to make the stop. For those who may have just joined us, Bruce Smith coming up with the flu yesterday, 103-degree temperature, also a stomach virus, not able to keep anything down. There was the slim hope that he might be able to make it here via a charter flight this morning, but the doctors checked him out, and he is just in no condition to play football, so he's had to sit it out. And on top of that, as you saw, Thurman Thomas hobbled to the sideline. So the Bills with major problems here. They're down 7-0, and Pittsburgh driving again. First down at the 22. Here is Mars, and he is stopped back behind the line by Jim Jeffcoat.
That time Jim Jeffcoat came up and made the play. Of course, the longtime veteran, Cowboys all-time leading sacker with 94.5 sacks.
Holding. Offense number 63. 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
Monty Dawson with the hold, and Bill Cowher going crazy on the sideline because this was one of those drives. They're just taking the Buffalo Bills and moving them. Center your screens against Ted Washington, who is their best run stopper, the nose tackle. Monty just got him hooked.
And the Steelers have run the ball 9 times for 50 yards here in this first quarter. We're coming up on a minute remaining. They now set back to a 1st and 20 at the Buffalo 32 on a delay. Morris. Bam Morris getting inside the 20, run out by the right corner. Thomas Smith, a pickup of 12. It'll be a 2nd and 8.
And I think Bryce Popp's getting a little frustrated right now. They put him on both sides of the football, and that time he came so hard after Neil O'Donnell the running back just ran right past him. He's going to come in. He's got his eyes on O'Donnell, slamming it right inside, and then Van Morris just ran right through him. He's not watching for the run, which has to be his first priority because that's what the Steelers are doing against him. They're not hurting him with the pass. They're killing him with the run.
Rolling down, 30 seconds remaining as O'Donnell throws the middle and able to complete for a first down, hooking up with John L. Williams. Sam Rogers on the tackle. That's a pickup of 8 yards. John L. Williams, one of the better pass receiving running backs in the history of the NFL. He's caught 50 or more each of the past 6 years. Has the first down as time runs out in this first quarter. And when we come back at the start of the second, the Steelers with a 1st and 10 down at the Buffalo 11. Stadium in Pittsburgh. Marv Albert, Chris Collinsworth, and Jim Gray as we head to the second quarter. Well, Chris, obviously Paul McGuire, a little stop along the way before heading to Kansas City, where he'll hook up with Dick Enberg tomorrow, and Bill Sims to bring you the Indianapolis Colts and the Kansas City Chiefs. Absolutely. And the Pittsburgh Steelers have manhandled the Buffalo Bills. They're up 7-zip. And they have a 1st and 10 at the 11. Nick Tank to the right, Mills to the left in motion. And it's for the ground from Mars. Stopped by Hansen. This is a Pittsburgh Steelers team that went 11-5 in the regular season. 2nd best record in the AFC. Only Kansas City was better. They finished the season winning 7 of their last 8, actually winning 7 straight before losing the final game of the regular season at Green Bay. And they have done an excellent job of adjusting to their talent, down to some wrinkles. Most unusual for the Steelers, surprising a lot of people. 2nd down and 9, O'Donnell to the end zone. It's caught. Touchdown! He just did get the feet in. Ernie Mills with the leaping catch in the back of the end zone.
I'd like to see that one again. I'm not sure that Ernie Mills got his feet down. If he did, it's one of the more remarkable catches that I've seen. Now, perhaps they're saying that he was pushed out of the back of the end zone, and if in the official's opinion he would have gotten his feet down, then it is a touchdown. That's a major assumption to assume that he would have gotten that back foot down. I really disagree with that call. I don't think that Ernie Mills would have ever gotten that back foot down under any circumstances.
And you see the reaction of Marv Levy. That is his point. And the extra point by Norm Johnson. So the Steelers take a 14-0 lead.
The sideline, and I believe that Ernie Mills would have never gotten that back foot down. It wasn't the push of Kurt Scholes that knocked that foot up in the air. The foot was already going that way. He was contorted in such a manner that the front of his body was coming down. I just think that's very much a bad call on the part of the officials. That's not the push out that forced that foot out. It was just the direction of the body and the way that he had to make the catch.
And you see the reaction of Marv Levy, who continues the disagreement with the line judge, Larry Upson. And it is a 14-0 Pittsburgh Steelers lead. Short kickoff. Holmes on the mark and looks to cover it up. A drifting short kick by Johnson, and it was covered up by Holmes. We'll be right back.
Ford FC. The muffed kickoff by Derek Holmes, almost a disaster. If they could get another disaster the way this game has started for them, but Holmes able to recover, and Bobby April, the special teams coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Got just a little excited going down the sideline. He was telling the story yesterday when he was brought in here in 1993. Of course, they had a special teams disaster in the playoff game against Kansas City with a block punt that even the cab driver on the way in said, "You better fix that punt team." So he found out exactly who he was.
That is intense pressure. Well, the Bills start out from their 22. Thurman Thomas is back on the field after hobbling off, but not able to get going. Could not accelerate on that carry. Lost a yard on the play. The Buffalo Bills, with a regular season record of 10-6, they won their 6th AFC East title in the last 8 years, won handedly in the wild card last week over Miami, but not able to get going here against the Steelers. Lonnie Johnson with the catch. Short pickup. Levon Kirkland was right there.
And Thurman Thomas back in the ball game. He was severely criticized after the San Francisco game earlier this year. He had cramps in that game, did not return. The fans in Buffalo wanted to run him out of town, according to Thurman Thomas. And I'm sure in part that's the reason he feels he has to get back in this game.
3rd down and 7. And Kelly's pass broken up, intended for Bill Brooks. Willie Williams, the right corner, able to get a piece of it.
And what an amazing story these corners for the Steelers have been this season. Willie Williams was expected to be a non-factor for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They had Deion Figures. They had Rod Woodson. Those guys ended up out at the beginning of the season. Rod Woodson, of course, was the guy that was supposed to carry this football team, but it has been Willie Williams and Cornell Lake who have just done a sensational job on the corners.
First punt of the day by Chris Moore. And the Steelers let it bounce inside the 40-yard line. A 36-yard punt, and now Pittsburgh will get it back.
To you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Nike, who encourages you to participate in the lives of America's youth. And by Subway. Now that's a sandwich.
Well, the Goodyear blimp floating overhead, providing our aerial views today. Goodyear blimps have been appearing over major events since 1925. 3 minutes gone by in the second quarter, and it's been all Pittsburgh. They are up 14-0. They will start out from just inside the 40-yard line. First 2 possessions, they go 9 plays for a touchdown, 10 plays for a touchdown. And you can see the domination by the Steelers. And Morris running well here in the first half. Carl Wilson, the man who is replacing Bruce Smith at right defensive end, involved in that stop along with Cornelius Bennett. Morris, 7 carries for 45 yards. Picked up 2. It's a 2nd and 8 at the 42-yard line.
And the Steelers just so much fresher a team than are the Buffalo Bills. Such an advantage that first-round bye since the new format in 1990. Teams with a first-round bye 18-2 in their first game after that bye.
O'Donnell getting the time, but off the mark, intended for Thigpen. Was covered by Smith.
There's just no way. Neil O'Donnell, he can have lunch sitting back there picking apart these guys. Carl Wilson's doing the best that he can, but there's nobody even close. They cannot get pressure on Neil O'Donnell, and they're back there in man coverage. This is a secondary that has been really banged up this season, but you can cover for that when you can get pressure on the quarterback. Now without Bruce Smith here, the pressure's not there, and this secondary is going to get really exposed.
It is a 3rd down and 8. And O'Donnell voted the team most valuable player earlier this week. Able to complete to fellow quarterback Cordell Stewart. Darby and Scholes brought him down, but he picked up 18.
The slash man at it again. And I like the story that Yancey Thigpen, the other receiver, had about Cordell Stewart. He said the best part about him playing wide receiver is when he does go back to playing the quarterback position, we don't have to worry about him throwing those high balls anymore. He has a full understanding of what it's like to go over the middle now.
Second catch for Cordell Stewart. First down at the 39-yard line. And here's Bam Morris. We were talking yesterday with Steve Tasker, who some in Buffalo have labeled as their version of slash for Cordell Stewart. And Steve said, no, more of a comment.
A comment, yes.
Although the way he has been playing this season, more of an exclamation point, I would have to say.
And Bruce Smith, the question mark. It's just no fun. There's Steve Tasker, the guy who had to get shot up before the game, cortisone shot, little Novocaine in there, but he's loving his opportunity. He's had twice as many catches this season as he's had in his 11-year career.
And they delay for Morris, and it does not work. Phil Hansen right there. And Hansen is hurt. A loss of 2 on the play, but Phil Hansen shaken up.
And what else can go wrong for the Buffalo Bills? Marv, at the end of a season, your body is just destroyed. It's broken down. A lot of different things hurt. And it's amazing with that week off, all of a sudden you get a little spring back in your step. You start to move around. But for the Buffalo Bills, they've had to continue playing all along. And you can see physically they're just beat up.
For a moment, I thought you were referring to your season as a broadcaster. It's a 3rd down and 12, and that nearly picked off. Matt Darby had a shot at the pass intended for Andre Hastings.
And that was a play that the Buffalo Bills defense, they just had to make. They couldn't allow Pittsburgh to march right back down the field again. And it looked like Cornelius Bennett was able to get a hand on that football and tip it away and almost into the arms of Matt Darby. Cornelius Bennett has not gotten the recognition this year because he doesn't have the sacks as an inside linebacker, but perhaps his best year.
And here are the Steelers going for it on a 4th down and 12 at the Buffalo 41. Out they are punting. Run start with a beauty. Oh, check that. It was Cordell Stewart. They lined up in a regular formation, and then Stewart dropped back to punt.
And you can add another slash to his name. He's quarterback, slash running back, slash wide receiver, now slash punter.
So the fake, which ends up with the punt by Stewart.
Making ideas a reality.
Stewart's last punt was in high school. The next one, of course, in a playoff game. And Yancey Thigpen almost made a sensational play, but when his foot stepped on the line right there, that meant that the ball came out to the 20.
So they lined up in the conventional formation, and then Stewart dropped back into punt formation. That pass intended for Andre Reed, as the Buffalo Bills are starting out from their 20-yard line. Jim Kelly is now 4 of 8 for only 13 yards. 5 minutes in, 2nd quarter. The Steelers up 14-0.
This is not the kind of game that Jim Kelly wanted to be in. He wanted to be able to run the football against this thing.
And the give for Thomas. Able to spin, but held for short yardage once again by Levon Kirkland.
And Greg Lloyd is upset with himself. He had Thurman Thomas dead to rights in the backfield. And Thurman, even with the bad ankle, able to spin away, but not get too far. That Pittsburgh defense is just so fast.
Thurman Thomas, 4 carries, 7 yards. A hobbling Thurman Thomas. And the pass caught by Steve Tasker. He took a big shot. It is good for 16 yards. And apparently a penalty marker is down.
Holding. Offense, number 84. 10-yard penalty. Repeat 3rd down.
Lonnie Johnny Johnson, the tight end with the hold. The Buffalo Bills have had zero good luck so far in this game. The wing tee back, as Marv Levy called him. He says our offense now looks more like the wing tee than anything else. Despite the shot up knee, Steve Tasker made the play and held on, but they're going in reverse.
It is a 3rd and 19 back to the 11. And Kelly throwing to the sideline, intended for Tasker, covered by Lake. And the crowd responding to the efforts of the Pittsburgh defensive unit.
Jim Kelly rolling away, but believe me, this Pittsburgh defense is faster than Jim Kelly, and they have the ability to chase him down from behind. Chad Brown, who is getting a chance to play, who's a step or two faster than Jim.
And Chris Moore will punt from the end zone. It's his 2nd punt of the day. Andre Hastings on the return. With a good 2nd effort on a 44-yard punt, 12-yard return. Back at Three Rivers Stadium, 8 minutes and 45 seconds to go in this first half, and it's been all Pittsburgh as they lead the Buffalo Bills by the score of 14-0.
Marv, this defense appears to be very ordinary without Bruce Smith. They've got problems because of injuries in the secondary. And talent-wise, when you take out a Bruce Smith and you focus all your offensive attention on Bryce Pop, they just don't have that many weapons.
Off the play fake, O'Donnell completing to Mills. It is a Pittsburgh first down, a 12-yard advance. Pop and Scholes combined to make the stop. 2nd catch for Ernie Mills in his 5th year out of Florida.
And Ernie Mills working against Marlon Kerner, who would not be in there himself but for the injury to Jeff Burris. Their Pro Bowl safety, Henry Jones, had knee surgery. He's out. But they've been able to cover up for that secondary with Bruce Smith. And here today, Neil O'Donnell's just having it too easy.
First down out the 31-yard line. Here's Morris. And Morris, who last year had a very strong rookie season, started 6 games for the injured Barry Foster, ran for over 800 yards. In fact, 2nd to Foster by only 15 yards. Did have some fumbling problems. And then this year, as we mentioned earlier, had difficulties at the start, but has come on and has had a big first half. 10 carries for 49 yards. 2nd down and 6 at the 27. O'Donnell again getting the time, throwing for Mills. Covered by Kerner.
Really nice position that time by Marlon Kerner. Again, Neil O'Donnell had all day, and he put Kerner in a real tough spot, having to cover Ernie Mills for this long. And Mills had his hands on the football, but Kerner got his hands up and knocked it away at the last second. And at the very least, this Buffalo Bills defense, they have to make a play right now. You have to at least keep the Steelers to a field goal in this situation and hope that your offense can get it turned around.
O'Donnell 8 of 12, 111 yards. Stewart in motion on the far side. O'Donnell was looking that way. And nearly intercepted by a diving Thomas Smith. The pass intended for Cordell Stewart.
For the first time today, somebody got a hand on Neil O'Donnell, and then when he stepped up, his timing was just completely off. Thomas Smith had an excellent chance to make that play. Really wasn't anywhere close to Cordell Stewart.
It is a 4th down and 6 at the 27, and Norm Johnson will attempt a 45-yard field goal. Led the NFL in kick scoring, 141 points in the regular season. The line drives it right through from 45 yards away.
Looked like Jack Nicklaus playing the hook that time. He started that ball out about 4 or 5 yards outside the post and just threw it back in.
With a 17-0 advantage now over the Bills. 7.5 remaining in this first half. Tyndale on the return. Tyndale, the first-year player out of Western Ontario, takes it for 22 yards. And here's Thurman Thomas, who's been struggling, coming up with a sprained ankle earlier. You mentioned during the first quarter all that fan criticism Thurman faced in Buffalo after departing in the second quarter against the 49ers with cramps, but he's come back strong this season. We talked with Thurman yesterday about his ups and downs with the Buffalo fans.
I have given all my body, to the Buffalo fans and done a great job for 8 years, and to hear that criticism was very touching to me. It really hit at heart, and to see me as a player that didn't have any heart, that didn't want to go out there and play in a big game, really did hurt.
But Marv, there comes a time when you go back in the game and it helps a team, and I'm not sure that time is right now for Thurman Thomas. He just doesn't seem to be the same guy that he was last week with that spectacular game against the Miami Dolphins. Derek Holmes was running the football effectively in the first quarter. I don't know how much longer Thurman will be in there.
Well, that pass is dropped by Lonnie Johnson, covered by the combination of Levon Kirkland and Willie Williams, bringing up a 3rd and 8 at the 32.
And Jim Kelly is struggling in this ball game as well. Now he's 4 for 10, just 13 yards worth of completions and no completions to a wide receiver. Not a good start for Jim.
Possession. Looked like Kent Hull, the center, was able to come up with the football. Kevin Green coming strong on Jim Kelly.
And Marv, this Pittsburgh Steelers defense is just a bear. And these Steelers fans, I believe they like defense better than offense around here. All those years with the Steel Curtain and Mean Joe Green and Jack Ham and all the guys, defense turns on this crowd more than anything else.
Kevin Green with a sack. First sack of the day. And here's Moore fielding the high snap. In trouble and taken down at the 12. Leafon Flowers getting to the punter. A high snap from Adam Lingner, and Moore did what he could. Wanted to get rid of the football, but could not.
Moore made a sensational play just to catch it, but by the time he pulled it back down, he couldn't get it away. Flowers was right there, and Bobby April is having a party out here. I don't know what he's doing with his feet, but he's jumping around and having fun. Now that's what a special teams coach is all about. Get over here and have a little party.
And Pittsburgh with a first down inside the 12-yard line. They are already up 17-0 with 6 minutes to go in the half, and O'Donnell throwing. He has Morris. Bennett on the stop of Bam Morris.
Cornelius Bennett so valuable because he can stop the run, but he can also play one-on-one coverage against the backs. Here with a saving tackle perfectly thrown by Neil O'Donnell. And Marv, you can only imagine what Bruce Smith must be thinking as he sits there and watches this football game and watch the dismantling of a very good Buffalo Bills defense when he's a part of it.
Second down and 5 at the 7. And it is back to the ground, and the hit made on Eric Pegram by Bryce Pop. Very quick to get to the running back.
Well, Bryce Pop is not going to get frustrated. He's a guy that grew up on a farm. He says his dad, a farmer, instilled the work ethic in him. As a matter of fact, if he ever came home too late at night, his dad would wake him up at 5:30 in the morning just to encourage him to get home a little earlier. Just wanted to encourage him. That time he encouraged the Steelers not to run his side.
And what a season for Bryce Popp, former Green Bay Packer, the NFL's Defensive Player of the Year, led the league, 17.5 sacks, the most since Clyde Simmons of the Eagles had 19 back in 1992. It's a 4th down and 8. O'Donnell couldn't find anyone. Throwing. Touchdown, Cordell Stewart, but a flag is down in the backfield.
It'll be coming back, a hold against the Steelers. Boy, I tell you, Cordell Stewart is really something as a wide receiver. Looked like Dwight Clark working the inline back there, scrambling around until he finally found a hole. He knows as a quarterback what it's like to hold the ball with those big guys chasing him around. So he was working hard for Neil O'Donnell, made the play, but all for naught.
There are 2 fouls on the offense. Ineligible downfield, number 72. That penalty is refused. Holding on 65 of the offense. That penalty is accepted. 10 yards, repeat 3rd down.
John Jackson out here on the outside with the hold. I'd have to circle the whole offensive line. Jackson with the hold. Seriously downfield. He must have rolled downfield if he did. He was just laying there, but that was a penalty on the offensive line, both sides.
It is a 3rd and 18 at the 20. 4.5 remaining in the first half. Pittsburgh up 17-0 out of the shotgun. O'Donnell just looking to get it away. Good rush by the nose tackle, Ted Washington.
Marv, that 5 wide receiver formation has been so good for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I don't think today is the day for it. Because when you go into it, it means nobody's in the backfield to help with the pass protection against Bryce Popp. And then he does get that isolation that he's been looking for, the one-on-one, and Popp that time with the pressure.
And with the 4th down and 18, here's the field goal unit. Norm Johnson, who connected from 45 yards away, attempting from 38. The punter, the actual Steeler punter, Ron Stark, will put it down.
Here's another hook.
So it is now a 20-0 lead for the Steelers with 4:22 remaining in the first half.
You know, one of the jobs as a head coach is you got to sort of give the body English to those field goals. And that time, Cowher managed to squeeze that one in.
A reminder, tomorrow at 3:30 p.m., the other half of the AFC Championship matchup will be decided when the NFL's top-rated quarterback, Jim Harbaugh, will lead the Indianapolis Colts against Steve Bono and the AFC's top team, the Kansas City Chiefs. It all gets started 3:30 p.m. Eastern as we get you caught up on all of the NFL's latest news and preview of the big game with Greg Gumbel, Ron Rashad, Mike Ditka, Joe Gibbs, Joe Montana on the NFL on NBC.
Gives you a chance to watch that Zach attack one more time. Zach Crockett was unbelievable, wasn't he, for the Colts? Marshall Faulk had knee surgery this past week, so once again we're going to see Zach Crockett, who just ran all over the San Diego Chargers in that upset win on the coast. Right now it is time for Jim Kelly to get something going with this offense. It has been a disaster so far, and the Pittsburgh Steelers looking very much like a team that could be a threat in the Super Bowl against any of the NFC teams.
Here's Derek Holmes on the return, and the good coverage by the Steelers. All Pittsburgh here in the first half, a 17-yard return. Well, the last time that these two clubs met, it was not a very happy day for Jim Kelly. November of 1994, a Monday night game, and the Steeler defense made the difference. Pittsburgh won 23-10. Rod Woodson with the interception, scoring 1 touchdown, and it was Woodson Brunson with a hard hit and a sack of Jim Kelly at the 1-yard line to create yet another. The Steelers would sack Buffalo quarterback 7 times that day. Here's Kelly finding the open receiver, Bill Brooks. Aaron Perry, the free safety on the stop, and Brooks with his first catch of the day. It is a first down as he picks up 16. And Greg Lloyd is down.
Boy, have we seen some star players going out of this ball game. Greg Lloyd, no question about it. He is the heart and soul of this defensive unit and the guy that no one messes with on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, except that guy, Bill Cowher. He messes around with him a little bit. But they were telling the story one time of one of the rookies, Oliver Gibson, was taking an incredible ribbing, and it was Greg Lloyd who walked back into the room and said, enough, and just stop. Nobody else said a word. When Greg Lloyd talks, that's it. See if we can pick up exactly how it was that Lloyd got hurt. He was flying in at the end of the play, and you just have to hope that that wasn't some sort of a neck injury with the way that he ducks his head down, and then he ran into his own player, Myron Bell, the strong safety. That's the reason the league penalizes people for leading with the head. Not for so much the safety of the other players, but for the safety of yourself. It's just so dangerous.
Another Pro Bowl season for Greg Lloyd, and major concern on the part of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
This is a scary situation.
3:59 remaining in the first half. We'll be right back.
So in this equation,
To Steve Tasker, who was stopped by Jerry Alsafsky. Greg Lloyd was able to get up and walk back to the sideline and is trying to give the indication that he's okay.
He's shaking that right arm, probably some sort of a stinger. And that's really about the best you could have hoped for in that situation.
Penalty marker was thrown. If it holds up, it is a 12-yard pickup for the Bills.
illegal hands to the face on the defensive team, number 96. Penalty is refused. First down.
Well, that is Brenson Buckner called on the penalty, and it is a first down for the Bills at midfield.
And this is the first sign of life we've seen out of this Buffalo offense since their first drive.
Thurman Thomas again with a short advance stopped by Buckner.
Buckner with a shot, and Levon Kirkland, the linebacker, really came in and threw his body into the mix and just leveled Thurman Thomas.
Crowd reacting as Greg Lloyd is back on the field. Incomplete. But tight end Tony Klein could not hold on as he took a hit from Levon Kirkland.
And Jim Kelly is calling plays that are either misdirection, bootleg type plays, or very short, quick passes. Jim is not comfortable. I don't think he has any confidence at all in the offensive line's ability to hold out this defensive front and allow him to throw the ball down the field.
And Kelly now facing a third down and 6 at the Pittsburgh 46. Just did get it away, completing to Brooks. And he has a first down. Randy Fuller on the stop. It's good for 10 yards, and this is easily the most impressive drive by the Bills.
And Chris Oldham, number 24, was jumping up and down at the end of the play. He got picked off of his man that time by the tight end Tony Klein. Just a simple pick play, well executed, illegal, but you don't get caught. It's a good play.
And a first down at the Steelers 36-yard line. It's Pittsburgh 20, Buffalo nothing in this AFC Divisional playoff game. Kelly able to hang in the pocket, and now a flag is thrown. Andre Reed involved downfield with Randy Fuller.
May have been some type of double move, and Fuller just grabbed hold of Andre Reed.
Holding. Defense number 29. 5-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Not a lot of arguing going on. As he started on the out, Fuller's just going to grab hold, and sometimes that can be the best strategy. He had clearly made the move on the out, and then he hooked him back with the arm, and they argued a little bit, but all defensive backs do that. They're not very pleasant people, Marv.
Really?
No, they're not very nice people at all.
You would not be tainted regarding that opinion from personal experience.
No. In general, they're just unpleasant.
It's amazing how their point of view on wide receivers mirrors that view. 2 minutes, 38 seconds remaining in the first half. And the Bills first down at the Steeler 30-yard line. The hold for Thomas. Thurman Thomas able to break a tackle, then coughs it up. And it will be Pittsburgh ball. Carnell Lake with the recovery.
The Steelers came with a blitz. Jim Kelly makes the perfect call. He gets the ball in the hands of his superstar Thurman Thomas, and it is just impossible for me to ever watch Thurman Thomas without flashing back to the problems that he had in that Super Bowl against the Dallas Cowboys, and the shots of him on the bench dejected and so downhearted, and here once again in a playoff game, despite the fact that Thurman Thomas comes back in after the injury. Another disaster for him.
That is actually only the second lost fumble of the season for Thomas. It gives the ball back to Pittsburgh, starting from the 14-yard line. Eric Pegram getting the call. And he was stopped by the combination of Carl Wilson and Matt Darby as we approach 2 minutes remaining in a first half that has belonged to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And Marv, it's so much more than just a fumble, because in this situation, the Bills were driving. They started to look good. They were going down, had a chance to get back in the game, and then he just gives it away.
And now we are down to 2 minutes left. First half. Off it up. Thurman, of course, on course for the Hall of Fame, but poor performances in recent Super Bowls will always haunt him. Super Bowl 28 in Atlanta, stripped of the ball here by Leon Lett. And then later on, it's early third quarter, another fumble by Thurman, and James Washington able to weave his way 46 yards for the tying touchdown, and that changed the momentum of that game.
But Thurman Thomas, in his defense, would have been the MVP, in my opinion, of the Super Bowl against the Giants. Had that field goal by Scott Norwood been good. He had such a sensational day that day, and who knows how the fortunes of the Buffalo Bills would have changed had that kick been made.
The Steelers second down and 8 from their 15-yard line. Able to reclaim possession off the fumble with 2 minutes left in this first half, and Pittsburgh leading Buffalo 20-0. And Morris stopped by David White. Cornelius Bennett, Phil Hansen involved in recent games. In the last 2 minutes of the half and of the fourth quarter, the Pittsburgh Steelers have had enormous success.
And Neil O'Donnell has just been so hot in those final 2 minutes of the half or the game. 8 touchdowns, just 1 interception, a 114 quarterback rating, which equates to the best in football. Nobody currently has a 114 quarterback rating. And we asked Bill Cowher the other day about that, and he said, yes, they are considering the fact that perhaps they would go to it during the course of the game. Of course, in this one, they don't need to.
Buffalo taking a timeout, their first timeout of the half. Last year, Neil O'Donnell battled with that ankle injury in the second half of the season, and he has come back so strong this year after missing 4 games earlier with that fractured throwing hand. And I have to say, Neil in a very fine spot as a guy who will be a free agent at the end of the season. He is a New Jersey guy. There has been some talk that the New York Jets would be interested. Neil was asked about that. We talked about it with him yesterday. Handoff goes to John L. Williams, stopped by Jeff Coat and Wilson. And Neil said he He said he wants to stay here with the Steelers. He also said, what do you think, I'm nuts with all the ticket requests?
He can't go back to New York. That would be impossible.
He said this affectionately, but he said it might be too close to the family.
Yeah, and I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to sign him. The one problem that they have, obviously, though, is that Cordell Stewart is a part of the mix. They also have a guy by the name of Jim Miller who performed very well in the preseason this year. So if you're rolling the dice by allowing Neil O'Donnell to go somewhere and you don't want to commit $20 million to a long-term deal or whatever the case may be, at least you have a little insurance with Tomczak and Jim Miller. But Mike Tomczak really struggled this season, threw 9 interceptions and played very un-Steeler-like ball when Neil O'Donnell was out with that broken hand.
In the 4th down and 7 situation, following another Buffalo timeout, it is definitely Ron Stark back to punt. Cordell is not in sight, so Stark punting from his 1. Steve Tasker calling for the fair catch. So 1:40 to go in this first half. 33-yard punt by Stark, and Buffalo gets it back, trailing by the count of 20-0. The Domino's halftime report is coming up momentarily with Greg Gumbel and Mike Ditka, Joe Gibbs, Joe Montana. Close-up looks at Buffalo head coach Marv Levy and the surprise of a week ago, Zach Crockett of the Indianapolis Colts.
You know, he actually was playing behind William Floyd and took a redshirt year at Florida State just so he'd have a chance to play, and it certainly paid off for Zach Crockett.
Buffalo first down at the Pittsburgh 49-yard line. Play action. Maybe getting the time and completing for the tight end. Fine. Breaking tackle. But did not get out of bounds. Myron Bell made the stop, so the clock is running.
And Marv, let me say this, how much I disagree with the play calling on that previous series. They just have given the Buffalo Bills another chance to come big. Very conservative.
Now Kelly goes to the sideline, and Reed does get out to stop the clock with 1:11 remaining. Willie Williams on the coverage there.
And as a player, I always wanted to have some momentum going in at the half. And what they've done now is they've shifted the momentum back to Buffalo. Despite the fact that they're down 20-0, the Steelers defense has been rocked back the last couple of drives, and now Buffalo has a little life.
Andre Reed with his first reception. It's a 2nd and 5 at the 27, and Kelly throwing deep. Oh, what an adjustment made. They'll spot it down at the 1. Beautiful catch by Tasker. A 26-yard pass play. He was brought down by Darren Perry. The clock is running. A 1st and goal at the 1-yard line. And it's Thurman Thomas taking it in. A beautiful executed drive by the Buffalo Bills.
And I don't know who it was that was calling those plays. I assume it was Ron Earhart, but they went so conservative when they had the ball on their 20-yard line. There were a couple minutes left. The Buffalo Bills spent all their timeouts, and now instead of just blowing out the Buffalo Bills, if they had picked up just 1 first down and that offense was on such a roll, they go conservative, and now all of a sudden we have ourselves a football game.
So the Bills with 4 plays go 49 yards in 56 seconds. Steve Christie adding the extra point, and Buffalo certainly has to feel good about developments here with 45 seconds remaining in the first half. They are able to get up on that scoreboard. Pittsburgh with a 27 lead.
And Thurman Thomas in the postseason, one of the most productive players of all time, just tied Jerry Rice and, of course, the former Pittsburgh Steeler great Franco Harris, now with 17 touchdowns apiece. Steve Tasker has been just an incredible story this year. Here's a guy had 10 career catches coming into this season, and they've just given him a chance. The injury to Andre Reed's given him the opportunity, and then Thurman Thomas comes back to stick it in. And former head coach for about 3 games, Elijah Pitts, said, now we've got a chance. 20-7. That's a little different story going in at the half.
That is assistant head coach Elijah Pitts, former running back, played a year with the LA Rams. Began his professional coaching career with the Rams.
And let's give Thurman Thomas a little credit as well. He is showing the heart that the Buffalo Bills fans thought that he lacked. He came back after the sprained ankle and really did not look very good at all running the football for a couple of plays, but he's hanging in there despite the fumble. He's not like he was in the Super Bowl where he took his helmet off and sort of sulked over on the bench.
No, I don't think we're going to see that. Brett McAfee, one of the up men on the kick return with 41 seconds remaining in the half. Overhead, the Goodyear Blimp, Spirit of Akron, based in Akron, Ohio. A look from high above Three Rivers Stadium. Capacity crowd just under 60,000. At Three Rivers, they have certainly been quieted down by that Buffalo Bills drive. Steelers now lead by the score of 20-7. Buffalo, one timeout remaining. Pittsburgh with all three. Here's O'Donnell completing. Andre Hastings stopped by Marlon Kerner. It's a pickup of 14.
And you just have to wonder why this wasn't the type of plan that they used when they had the ball the last time. They felt very comfortable with that 20-0 lead. And I suppose I've had many a conversation with Ron Earhart, and he will tell you point blank, I am not afraid to take the ear out of the football. All my days with the Giants and Bill Parcells, man, if we got a 10-point lead with the Giants, that was it offensively. We weren't going to take any more chances. We were going to rely on our defense. But emotionally now the Buffalo Bills back in it. But now you're also seeing Ron Earhart getting back to what this team has been so successful doing. That's spreading it out, working Cordell Stewart, opening up this offense.
And the Steelers using a timeout. When we resume, it'll be a 1st and 10 at their 45-yard line. Out of 32 seconds left in the half. Again, O'Donnell out of the shotgun. Completing with Ernie Mills. Matt Darby up from free safety to make the hit. It's a 23-yard play. And a timeout taken by Pittsburgh to stop the clock with 23 seconds to go in the half.
The impact of Cordell Stewart. He's going to come down, run across the field, open it up for the guy in behind, and watch the coverage in here. When Cordell Stewart flashes in front of your face, you go with him, and that's what opens it up for the hole in behind. So Cordell Stewart, even when he's not catching the football, he's creating an impact on the football field because of the fact that defensively you have to pay so much attention to him.
And Neil O'Donnell, 11 of 17, 152 yards, 1 touchdown. Pittsburgh with 1 timeout remaining. Buffalo has 1 left. Cordell Stewart, 2nd-round draft pick out of Colorado, receiving the chance to fulfill other roles because of injuries in the receiver corps. And he has become a focal part of the offense and making it very difficult to prepare against the Steelers. It's down at the 33-yard line. Completion by O'Donnell, hooking up with Hastings. Bennett on the stop, and a timeout. Final timeout being called by the Steelers. So Andre Hastings has been a popular guy here in the 2nd quarter. He had 48 receptions during the regular season in his 3rd year out of the University of Georgia.
Yeah, and this 1-minute drill really has been looking good. They don't call it the 2-minute drill here. They call it the 1-minute drill. And we were talking about it with some of the guys yesterday, and he said at the beginning of the season when we were 3 and 4 and we were so bad, we were behind all the time. So we were constantly in that 2-minute drill. We gained a lot of confidence in it, and all of a sudden now it's paying dividends in a playoff game. Marv Levy knows that this defense has to make a play. His team had the momentum on his side. And one thing maybe we'll go back to here. Remember when the Bills rushed to the line of scrimmage and hurried up and got the snap off? Well, they could have taken their time at that point, run off some clock, and not given the Steelers a chance to come back down the field.
Well, Steelers now have a 2nd and 2 at the 25. They're out of timeout. 16 seconds remaining in the half. O'Donnell the sideline, and it is ruled a completed catch. Ernie Mills with a spectacular play in front of Phil Mel Johnson. It's good for 9 and a first down.
And these, nice catch too by Ernie Mills. These Steeler receivers have picked up their game so much. Chan Gailey, the receivers coach, when Eric Green left here, there was a tremendous burden placed on the Steeler wide receivers who were average at best in the past. Yancey, Thigpen, Ernie Mills, Hastings you talked about, they've really stepped it up.
And with 11 seconds left in the half, a 34-yard field goal attempt by Norm Johnson, who hit his previous 2. Flag is thrown. It is good. So let's check out the penalty marker. Well, Johnson is hit from 45, from 38, and he did convert here from 34.
And the reason that they did not elect to run another play is they didn't have any timeouts remaining.
Defense, offside, number 28. The penalty is refused. The field goal is good.
Thomas Smith, the man called on the penalty, so Norm Johnson makes it 3 of 3 as he hits the 34-yarder. And the Steelers now lead 23-7 with only 7 seconds to go in the half.
Tremendous drive on the part of the Pittsburgh Steelers to regain that momentum. But a couple of mistakes made. First on the part of the Pittsburgh Steelers going so conservative and allowing Buffalo to get the ball. But then on the part of Jim Kelly hustling his team up to the line of scrimmage when it was down on the 1-yard line. They had the opportunity to run some clock off, just left too much time for Neil O'Donnell, and they paid for it with 3 points.
And what a job by O'Donnell. 4 for 4 on the drive. All this within 37 seconds. The good catch by Mills down at the 16, able to keep the feet in bounds. And then stepped out to stop the clock.
It seems strange to say that you can score a touchdown too quickly, but often that is the case. Clock management, such an important part of it, and Neil O'Donnell with a conservative hat and sort of goes with his image.
Actually, that was a wrap against the Buffalo Bills in the no-huddle success when the defense was not what it certainly was turned into this year. That is with Bruce Smith on the field, that they would score too quickly.
Well, by kicking that ball out of bounds, and Bill Cowher is crazy over that one. That's what you don't want, because now you get the ball on the 40-yard line and you get a chance to take a shot down the field. And now he's going to work on Bobby April a little bit, and Bobby April said, I told him to kick it in bounds. I didn't kick shots. Ain't no punch, like you said. He winded up the punch though, so Bobby April, he went down the other side of the bench, which is a good idea.
So the Bills at their 40-yard line with 7 seconds remaining in the half.
And we saw Philadelphia hit one of those Hail Marys at the end of the half last week against the Detroit Lions. What a shocking game that was.
But the question here with Jim Kelly still not himself in terms of the shoulder, how far can he throw the ball, and perhaps might not want to hurt himself. Flag is down. Well, Kelly does unload and does fire downfield, and it is caught by the Bills, who immediately called for time. Andre Reed.
Now, Marv, the time is out, but if there's a defensive penalty, they will have a chance to kick a field goal. That's the significance of this. If this is against the defense, you take it down the field and you kick the field goal.
Andre Reed able to play that deflection, a 42-yard pass play.
That's the danger. Any defensive penalty, the half cannot end on a defensive penalty. There is no time remaining on the clock. But if the call goes against the Pittsburgh Steelers, then you get an opportunity to kick the field goal for the Buffalo Bills.
We have an illegal formation on the offensive team. The tight end was lined up in the backfield. The half is over.
Of course, the flip side of that is if it's on the offense, you don't mark off the penalty. You go in and get a little Gatorade at halftime. So a break for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And the Steelers with a 23-7 lead on the Bills at the end of the half off a superb effort by Neil O'Donnell. 13 of 19, 169 yards. Let's check in now with Greg Gumbel at our New York studio.
Against Miami.
Return by the rookie Derek Holmes for Buffalo, breaking tackles as he reaches out to the 33-yard line. A 24-yard return. Figures involved on the stop. Let's check in on the field with Jim Gray.
All right, thank you very much, Marv. Well, the mood in the Buffalo locker room was really pretty good. Many of the players were pretty happy with what went on in the second quarter. Wade Phillips told me he's going to try and make some adjustments defensively, come up with some new schemes. He feels that Neil O'Donnell is just having too much time in the backfield, standing back there waiting to pass. He also said that he feels as though the team can come back, and Marv Levy emphasized they had come back from worse deficits in the playoffs before, mainly against Houston a couple of years ago. Marv?
Yes, that was January the 3rd, 1993 in Buffalo. Frank Reich throwing 4 second-half touchdowns as the Bills came back from that 35-3 deficit. The greatest comeback
9 offense
of the NFL.
5-yard penalty, still first down.
And it is a first down and 15 off the call back at the 28-yard line. Jim mentioned too much time for Neil O'Donnell, and on the other hand, not enough time for Jim Kelly. Starts out with the get to Thomas, and Thurman Thomas driven back. Joel Steed gets him for a loss of a yard.
And Joel Steed, the nose tackle, strongest man on the team, his nickname LFL, because he tears people limb from limb.
How clever.
Yes.
Yes.
That was my nickname with the Bengals. I don't know if you knew that.
I did know that, yes. 9 carries, only 25 yards for Thomas. Oh, Kelly took the shot. Barely got it away. Faced the rush from Ray Seals. And look out. Glenn Parker involved. Ray Seals involved. Things getting testy. Penalty markers are thrown.
Kent Holt jumping in there, and Levon Kirkland trying to have a conversation, and Ray Seals and Jim Kelly going back at it with it one more time. Ray Seals, a guy that feels like he didn't get the kind of respect that he deserved after his sensational year this year. He said he makes the comment before every game. He asks the guy across from him, did you vote for me for the Pro Bowl? And if he didn't, he said the guy's in for a long day. And that time, Jim Kelly was in for a long day.
I think Ray was...
Oh.
Unnecessary roughness penalty. One against 74. Of the defensive team.
Unnecessary
It was
roughness.
after the pass was incomplete. Third down.
It's on Glenn Parker of the Bills and Joel Steed of the Steelers getting back to Seals, as you mentioned, has had a superb season. You can see the taunting also by Seals. I think what hurt in that he did not get consideration because he lines up so frequently as a tackle in the 3-4 and often plays against opposing guards and will power in the face of Ray Seals for that taunting. Incomplete, intended for either Brooks or Tasker.
And Ray Seals, he's still upset. He didn't like the fact that Bill Cowher got in his face. But you could tell when Ray Seals got up after the sack, he kind of did one of those 6-gun salutes, wham, 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 with his fingers like he's shooting Jim Kelly. And Jim Kelly didn't like it. And he jumped up and just slammed into Ray Seals. And now here comes Cowher back at Seals. This is like big-time wrestling or something at this point.
Chris, what Cowher's point is, if Buffalo, as you watch more, get the punt away, if Buffalo scores here, helped by a penalty returned by Hastings, and then go for a 2-point conversion, they're right back into it. It'll be 23-15. Why take any chances? We'll be right back.
UPS, the official package delivery company of the NFL, and by American Express.
All right, here's another look at the episode a moment ago involving Ray Seals and Jim Kelly.
Seals with a shot and caught Jim Kelly's arm, and then he stands up and does a little boom, boom, boom thing. Jim Kelly didn't like it. He came back and gave big guy a push, and then it was the right hand back by Ray Seals, and we were off and running.
So a first down at the 40-yard line, and it's Eric Pegram breaking a tackle. Picked up 9 on the play. Free safety Matt Darby on the stop. And then on the sideline, Seals and Cowher in a rather heated discussion. Jim Gray telling us that Cowher upset with the taunting at this stage of the game where the Steelers are well in front 23-7. Also said, you know, you take a punch at a guy who's wearing a helmet to break your hand.
That's exactly right, even if it is a quarterback zone. Viv Cowher, he gets right in her face, doesn't he? I mean, he's not afraid of those big guys out there. They say the worst thing is that he spits a lot when he yells at you.
A second down and 1 at the 49-yard line, and the first down is picked up by Bam Morris. Bryce Pop on the tackle.
Pop hasn't given up on this one, but so much more of the burden on him because of Bruce Smith not being here. Jonathan Hayes got him hooked, a little hold, but wasn't enough to keep Bryce Pop out of the play.
Bryce Pop in his 6th year out of Northern Iowa. Signed as a free agent from the Packers. Certainly hit the jackpot with that 3-year, $7.5 million contract. First down, and O'Donnell with the time, completing for another Steeler first down. Has the backup tight end, Jonathan Hayes. First catch of the day for Hayes, and it's good for 17.
Well, this is what you can do when you get the running game going. You go the bootleg off of it. You sneak the tight end in behind. And Jonathan Hayes has been playing a lot today instead of Mark Bruner because he's the better blocker. They wanted to get him out there against Bryce Pop, but proving he can catch one as well. Nice little drive the Steelers have going.
And O'Donnell has hit 7 of 7 throwing on first down. First down at the Buffalo 28. 3 minutes gone by in the 3rd quarter. Morris. And a short pickup. Stopped by Monty Brown. Monty Brown, considered pound for pound the strongest player on the Buffalo Bills.
Look at him. Look at those arms. 500-pound bench presser, 52-inch chest, 32-inch waist. Man, he's a stud. We have a lot in common, he and I.
And myself included.
I figured you'd jump on that bandwagon.
A 2nd and 9 at the 27. Able to backpedal to set up the screen for Pegram. Pegram with a blocker. Cuts inside the 10 and taken down inside the 5. 23-yard gain. Matt Darby, Phil Hansen combined to stop Eric Pegram.
Well, that time Cornelius Bennett, he saw it. He got out here, but he couldn't make the play. The lead blockers in front just made the blocks against him. He's out there, but he's in a 4-on-1 situation, and Pegram was able to sneak through.
It is a 1st and goal down at the 4. And Morris is hit for a loss by Pop.
Wade Phillips told me before the game that he was going to move around Bryce Pop, that he really felt he couldn't afford to just leave him in one spot. Ordinarily, you'll see Bryce Pop on the other side, but this time he's lining up on the defensive right and coming in and disrupting it. They tried to pull out the offensive lineman and get the sweep going around this side, but as Kevin Green told us with the Bills counter tray, the thing you have to do is just go in and blow it up. Just go in and attack the offensive lineman coming at you, and that's exactly what he did.
2nd and goal now back at the 9-yard line. O'Donnell looking end zone and then throwing short range to the tight end Mark Bruner. Incomplete. Monty Brown with the coverage on Bruner.
Bruner probably a little bit better receiving tight end than he is as a blocker, working one-on-one down the field against Monty Brown, but Brown did a nice job getting a hand on him, and not sure that Neil O'Donnell knew exactly what the rookie was doing there.
Mark Bruner, a #1 draft pick out of the University of Washington. 8th play of the drive, 3rd and goal at the 9. O'Donnell now 15 of 22, 209 yards and a touchdown. Cordell Stewart in motion. And O'Donnell's pass intercepted. Greg Evans, and then he lost it, and it's recovered. So Buffalo able to hang on. Evans with the interception. Went 18 on the return. Lost the handle momentarily, but was able to cover it up. Greg Evans, who signed as a free agent last year, spent the season on the practice squad out of TCU. Had 1 interception during the regular season. Picks it off right here.
Set up for Cordell Stewart. He got his hands on it, just could not pull it back in. And the Buffalo Bills, I think Greg Evans, he just dropped it. I think he saw Leon Searcy coming at him. But for the Buffalo Bills, again, a team that refuses to die. I mean, this has been just like their season. Every time you're ready to write them off, they're right back in it. And now Jim Kelly needs to get that offense going the way that it was at the end of the first half.
Kelly starting out from the 21-yard line. 9.5 left in this 3rd quarter, and Kelly came up short. The intended pass for Thomas. It'll be a 2nd and 10. At the 21-yard line. So Neil O'Donnell, who has been so efficient, intercepted for the first time over the last 156 passes in postseason play. Well, the crowd trying to get the defense going, also trying to make things difficult for the Bills to hear the signals. And Kelly picked off. The Steelers get it back. Lake stepping in front of Andre Reed to come up with the interception.
It's only appropriate that Carnell Lake would make a play like that in a playoff game. All season long, he's gotten it done. He stepped in for Rod Woodson. He was a strong safety. He really didn't want to play corner. The coaches came to him and asked him if he'd be willing to make the move. He said whatever is best for the team. He thought he was going to give up his Pro Bowl status, got voted in anyway, and here just steps in front of Andre Reed. What a sensational year. In many ways, the MVP of the Pittsburgh Steelers this year has to be Carnell Lake. They didn't lose a game 8 straight when he took over as a corner, and he has just been sensational.
And the Steelers 1st and 10 at the 25 in Buffalo territory off the play action. And Donald throwing incomplete, intended for John L. Williams, coming roaring out of the backfield. Getting back to Carnell Lake, a standout game here today with the interception, also a fumble recovery. There's Carnell in a 7th NFL season out of UCLA. He was a pass rushing linebacker with the Bruins, making All-American as a senior at that position, but exceptionally quick at 210 pounds, converted to strong safety, and now playing, as Chris just mentioned, the left corner spot for a good portion of this season. Pegram is stopped by the nose, Ted Washington.
Marv, they've been picking on Carnell Lake all season. From the time that that move was made, just on paper, anytime that you hear a strong safety is going to a cornerback position, the quarterbacks and the wide receivers, they lick their chops. He's given a couple of opportunities this season he's been beaten on a play or two during the course of the season, but for the most part, he has been rock solid and has really made a difference with his defense.
It is a 3rd down and 6 at the 21-yard line. O'Donnell looking left and then right and going incomplete, intended for Corey Holiday, a recent addition to the active roster because of the injury suffered by Charles Johnson. Holiday did not catch a ball during the regular season, a first-year man from North Carolina.
But this Bills defense has done it again. I mean, really, they've done it again. In the first half, I was fairly critical of their play, but here in the second half, without Bruce Smith, Wade Phillips' squad, they've done a job. After the interception, 3 and out.
And a 39-yard attempt here for Norm Johnson, who was hit on 3 of 3. Norm Johnson does it again. From 45, from 38, from 34, and now from 39. Enjoyable sideline discussion, Bill Cowher and Neil O'Donnell following the field goal by Norm Johnson to give the Steelers a 26-7 lead.
Let's keep those quarterbacks calm.
Holmes and Tyndale are back. Derek Holmes on the kick return, trying to spin, but could not get away. Tracy Green involved on the stop, and we'll be right back.
It is where the lofty atmosphere of most luxury cars is left behind.
It's the tranquility.
Welcome back to Pittsburgh, and this a fired-up Pittsburgh Steelers team right throughout the week as they looked ahead to today's game against the Buffalo Bills. We talked about that with Kevin Green and asked how would he compare this past week's preparation with the regular season.
This past Monday in the weight room, it was crazy, and it was extremely intense in the weight room. Everybody was screaming, "Buffalo Bills, Buffalo Bills," and then that has been building up the whole week, and it's a fever pitch, and I'm right there knee deep in it and having fun with it, and it just doesn't get any better than this.
Chris, I'd have to say Kevin Green is going at a fever pitch at all hours of the day.
Go hands to the face on the defense, number 96. Penalties refused. First down.
Well, the penalty was called on Brenson Buckner, but it has been declined. Off the reception by Andre Reed for a 1st and 10 at the 41-yard line. 8 minutes to go, 3rd quarter. And the Steelers lead the Bills 26-7. The winner goes on to meet the winner of tomorrow's game between the Colts and the Chiefs, and they'll play in the AFC title game. Incomplete. Reed could not hang on. He was covered by Lake. There was some interesting statements coming out of Buffalo earlier this week, although you got the idea that the Steelers made even more of some innocent type statements with Andre Reed wondering about the switch of Carnell Lake from strong safety to left corner, and Kelly is able to throw and complete to the tight end Lonnie Johnson, short of a first down. Levon Kirkland with the stop.
Kirkland with the tackle, and his running back is Chad Brown, the other inside linebacker. And Chad Brown was a guy who had such a sensational beginning to this season. And with him healthy, he's not there yet. You can see he's not quite there. But as the playoffs progress, he is going to be a major factor.
It's a 3rd down and 2, and Kelly is taken down. Back behind the line, Joel Steed.
The pressure once again from the Pittsburgh Steelers. They brought Greg Lloyd on the blitz, and he slipped off and combined on the sack with Joel Steed. Thought maybe Marv Levy might go for it here in this situation. If there's a fake punt or anything in your repertoire, might not be a bad time for it.
2nd sack of the game for the Steelers, and they go to punt formation in a 4th down and 2. Andre Hastings able to make the catch, lost his balance on that fair catch. 37-yard punt. But without his partner on the other side, Bruce Smith, who's still back in Buffalo with a flu and a stomach virus. What a year for Bryce Popp. 17.5 sacks to lead the National Football League.
And Bryce will be the first to tell you that the big reason why he's been able to put up those kind of numbers is because Bruce Smith is on the other side, and you have to split your attention between the two.
The Steelers from their 14-yard line, and a straight-ahead move by Bam Morris. Stopped by Washington and Perry. 6:20 remaining in this third quarter. And it's Pittsburgh with a 26-7 lead.
Devin Green, who says he'll cut his hair again when they win a Super Bowl. That was something that was said long ago, back when he was with the Rams, and his hair has been growing ever since. He did a nice thing, though, for the fans standing in line. Had to wait in the cold for playoff tickets. Went out and bought 100 hamburgers for the guys and just sort of passed them out.
Cordell Stewart is back on the field. That pass may have been deflected, intended for Yancey Thigpen, who was covered by Marlon Kerner. Yesterday we were talking with Bill Cowher about the drop pass against Green Bay by Thigpen. We asked Bill how did he handle it with Yancey. He said, well, as you take a look at it, he said he went over to him and said, you know, I wouldn't take any trips through Detroit trying to make light of the moment. Of course, the drop cost the Lions a home playoff game.
And cost them a lot more than that, because they had to go into Philadelphia. You have to think that would have been a different story if they were playing in Pontiac.
Third down and 8. They just do get the play off. O'Donnell under pressure and looks to throw it away. Bryce Popp providing that pressure.
And once again, the Buffalo Bills defense doing their job. I mean, it really has been a marvelous effort. In the first half, they struggled. They probably were emotionally trying to figure out how to get this whole thing done. Wade Phillips, though, at halftime has come back. And remember what Jim told us coming out. They wanted to try and get a little more pressure on him. And so far, it has disrupted things with this Pittsburgh Steelers offense.
Ron Stark punting from his goal line. Steve Tasker is back. And the Bills could have excellent field position right here. 29-yard punt, only a 4-yard return. Looked like someone lost their shoe. With 5:27 remaining. Yes, in the third. Across the way, Mount Washington, the Duquesne incline. Novel approach.
Dee and Vince separating at that point.
First down at the 42 as the Buffalo Bills take over with 5.5 remaining. In this third quarter, the screen set up beautifully. Although Kelly took a hard hit in completing to Thurman Thomas. And Kelly shaken up.
Bill Johnson and Greg Lloyd just destroyed Jim Kelly as he got that ball off. One of the problems when you try and run that naked bootleg, the naked D is sometimes a guy like Greg Lloyd. Turned the corner and Jim sort of flipped his head around, and Reuben Brown really didn't even get a hand on him, and that was a sandwich job.
What a shot by Greg Lloyd, who earlier in the first half was hurt and was down for a while.
Remember all the way back to the preseason, the shot that he put on Brett Favre, and he was so upset he got fined by the league, and that was really the precedent that was set throughout the National Football League. Gene Washington finding a lot of players after that. They are going to try and protect these quarterbacks, and Alex Van Pelt apparently the next in.
He has moved past the rookie Todd Collins as the number 2 quarterback. Alex Van Pelt, who is out of the University of Pittsburgh in his second NFL season, originally drafted by the Steelers in the 8th round, and then went on to sign with Kansas City. He has seen only brief action this season, 10 of 18 overall with a couple of touchdowns. Alex Van Pelt. His nickname, as you know, Chris, is the Pill for the Pillsbury Doughboy that was given to him by Jim Kelly.
Reuben Brown just unable to get the block, and Greg Lloyd coming in, it was not helmet-to-helmet contact. He got the helmet, but it was into the shoulder. So that is not a finable situation, but Greg Lloyd certainly throwing his body around and leading with his head a lot today. One time it got him knocked out, and that time it knocked out Jim Kelly.
Kelly, you know, will hope to return as Van Pelt has taken over and penalty markers are down. Look to be John Fina, the left tackle.
False start prior to the snap. 70 offense. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
John Fina in his 4th year out of Arizona. Last year set back by a knee problem which affected his quickness. He picked up his plays. Had some ups and downs this season. There is the thought down the road, although he is a free agent, but there is the thought that he might be better at the center position.
He's not a great tackle at all.
2nd and 11. Looked to be a mix-up on that end around, but they pull it off, and Tasker gets inside the 20, inside the 10. That was not a pretty play, but it did work, and it goes for 40 yards.
I love this guy. I absolutely love this guy. He's been chasing kicks, getting knocked around for 10 years in the National Football League, and now is the wing T-back. They come with the reverse. It bobbles the football, still makes the play, but Steve Tasker gets shot up before the ball game. His knee was hurting him. He had to do the cortisone, the Novocaine, just to play in this football game, and he has been sensational this afternoon.
Beautiful block by Ostrowski. 1st and goal at the 3. Thurman Thomas is short of the goal line. Steve Tasker coming in with that full 10 in the back of his left leg. He told us yesterday at the start of the season he pulled a hamstring and he'd have a doctor look at it. Now that his role has become vital, he says 2 doctors and 3 trainers keep checking him out.
And look at, they're the Buffalo Bills, you know, they're 3 touchdowns away from having a lead. They've got a shot at their first one here. Little dipsy-do from Marv Levy, and about a yard away.
And they go to a full house backfield. Gardner, Tyndale, Thomas, all into Thomas now, the lone deep back. And here's Van Pelt throwing. Touchdown! The tight end, Tony Klein from Alex Van Pelt, who took over for Jim Kelly. And the Buffalo Bills are very much back into it.
What a brilliant call that time by Marv Levy and his staff. I guarantee you the defense of the Pittsburgh Steelers did not even consider the possibility that Van Pelt was going to throw the football. Coming in cold off the bench, just a sensational call, completely fooled the Steelers.
And they're going for the extra point here. We were speculating earlier might be an opportunity for a 2-point conversion, but they go for the 1. And Christie able to put it through with 3:27 left in the 3rd quarter. It is now a 12-point Pittsburgh lead.
Yeah, and that was the right call to go for 1. When it was 23-7, that was a different story because it would have put them within 8. But now you're 2 touchdowns away, and Pittsburgh Steelers fans should not rest easy against this football team. The beautiful play fake and everybody reacting to it, assuming it was a run. And Tony Klein able to go completely free into the end zone.
And for Tony Klein, the rookie out of Stanford, his first career touchdown. Tony Klein, the son of Tony Sr., played in the NFL for 9 years with the Raiders and the 49ers as a defensive lineman.
Marv Levy was telling the story this past week, talking about the 341 yards rushing that his team got last week against the Miami Dolphins. The last time that happened in a playoff game was 55 years ago. 55 years ago, the Chicago Bears did it, and Marv was listening to the game on the radio.
Marv Levy, that is.
Yeah.
Yes, not this Marv.
Well, he said he enjoyed your calls the game.
Oh, good. Nice setup. 3:27 remaining in this 3rd quarter. Here's the kickoff by Christie. And the return by Mills to the 30. across the 30-yard line, hit down by Carwell Gardner. Jim Kelly making his way back to the Buffalo locker room. Took that shot from Greg Lloyd, replaced by Alex Van Pelt. And the Bills were able to score within seconds. The reverse, which did not look pretty, the bobble off the handoff on the end around to Tasker. He went 40 yards, and then Van Pelt finished off the drive with the touchdown pass, a 2-yarder to Tony Klein.
And Van Pelt pull off of Frank Reich. And what he did, remember Frank Reich beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in a playoff game right here.
Here's O'Donnell on first down, and it's almost picked off. Cornelius Bennett would have taken it the distance.
And you've got to believe that if the Buffalo Bills are going to make another one of those comebacks like they did against Houston a few years back in the playoffs, they have to make plays like this. The ball comes off, and Cornelius Bennett just unable to react quickly enough, but he would have strolled into the end zone.
Second down and 10 at the 33. Marv Albert, Chris Collinsworth, Jim Gray from Three Rivers in Pittsburgh. The deep drop for the screen set up by O'Donnell. Pegram with the spin. A flag has been thrown. Pegram barely getting back to the line. Hansen and Pop combining to make the stop. And as they sort it out, let's check in with Jim Gray, who has more on Jim Kelly. Jim?
All right, thanks, Marv. Well, Jim Kelly tried to throw a few passes, and he was having a great deal of trouble. He kept holding and grimacing. His right collarbone had appeared just underneath his neck. That's seemingly where he took the shot. So they've taken him back into the locker room for some x-rays, and right now his return is very questionable. He seemed to be in quite a bit of pain. Marv?
All right, Jim.
Don't forget, Jim has had that bad shoulder in the past anyway. Don't know if possibly it was related to that, but he has been sitting out of a lot of drills. But Jim Kelly's personal choice to back him up is this guy right here, Alex Van Pelt. They tried Todd Collins. He got his opportunity against Houston, the meaningless last game of the year, and it was Van Pelt who played much better in that game and really has earned that backup job.
Second down. And the call against the Steelers, so it sets it back to a 2nd and 20 at the 23-yard line. Just under 3 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. Stewart in motion. Stewart on the handoff. And then the end around for Mills, and it does not work. A double reverse stop by Carl Wilson, the man who was playing for the flu-ridden Bruce Smith.
And Bruce Smith could not have played it any better than Carl Wilson right there. Sees it coming, holds his ground, wades through the blockers, and makes the play. That was a play that had a chance, but for Carl Wilson. So, Carl Wilson, you have earned your paycheck with that one play alone. That one looked like it was set up pretty well.
Wilson with one prior start as a member of the Bills in the season finale against Houston. 3rd down and 17, and O'Donnell throwing intended for Corey Holiday. This is the 2nd time that he's looked for Holiday. Covered by Smith and Darby, and the Steelers are forced to punt.
Wow, what a shot put on by Matt Darby. Holiday goes up for this one, and Darby's got a beat on him, and wham, knocked something right out of his, knocked his earpiece out. Just knocked his earpiece right out of his head. Now that's a hit. You take somebody and knock their earpiece out because there's 4 different things that clip it into the helmet. That's a shot.
Ron Stark with the punt, and handled by Tasker. Short punt by Starks, only 29 yards. Things going the other way for the Steelers here in the 3rd quarter. Neil O'Donnell, after the impressive first half, only 2 of 10 in the 3rd, and the Buffalo Bills are very much back in this game with 1:48 left in the 3rd.
Matt Darby just saw this one coming all the way, and there you have a little helmet-to-helmet contact on that one. This is unbelievable. What happened to the Steelers offense. They've allowed the Bills to get back in this thing because they can't move the football.
So Alex Van Pelt taking over for the injured Jim Kelly, and again it looked to be an end around developing. That's a broken play, and Van Pelt had a hold on. He was covered up by Chad Brown, picked up 5 yards.
Greg Lloyd saw this reverse coming all the way. He tackled Tasker before he got the ball. Lloyd just jumped right up there and he tackled Tasker. He sees him come in motion, the reverse is coming. He just go grab him. And Van Pelt made a great play seeing what happened and just turned it up.
Second down and 6. A pickup of 4 by Van Pelt, who now fires one incomplete. Intended for Reed. Covered by the free safety, Perry. Alex Van Pelt out of the University of Pittsburgh, who has moved past Todd Collins, who right throughout the season was considered as the number 2 quarterback. Behind Jim Kelly, the feeling was only 2 quarterbacks can get the snaps during the course of the training week, and they wanted to develop the rookie, Todd Collins. They thought that, hey, look, down the road, this is a prospect, but Van Pelt is now the number 2 guy. Van Pelt throwing sideline and threw it away. Andre Reed got the look, and then Van Pelt felt that he was well covered, so he threw it away.
Andre Reed is playing, but he's not Andre Reed. He's just, you can tell that Andre's just, he's doing the best he can, but that hamstring injury is still a major problem for him, and really you don't expect that even if they should win this game, he's not really going to get any better. It was such a horrible tear of the hamstring, and it just, Cornell Lake has no fear of Andre Reed right now.
Andre Reed missing the 10 games with the full hamstring, returning in the wild card playoff against the Dolphins last week, but did not have any catches.
12 start, an illegal snap on the center, 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
Illegal snap called on the center, the deep snapper, Adam Lingner. He had that bad snap earlier, which cost the Bills. So Moore will punt from inside his 30, punting for the 5th time. Hastings is back. And a beauty. Hastings lets it go. It will be down inside the 10-yard line by the Bills. A 50-yard punt by Moore. Mark Pike able to hustle down the field to come up with the football. 47 seconds to go in this 3rd quarter. Well, overhead it is the Goodyear blimp, the Spirit of Akron, based in Akron, Ohio, sending us those pictures. Steelers start out from their 8-yard line. Neil O'Donnell in the 3rd quarter, just 2 for 10.
Some confusion in the Buffalo secondary. They had to hustle a couple of guys on late.
Morris works his way out to the 13-yard line. The winner today goes on to the AFC Championship game, either in Kansas City, in Pittsburgh, or in Buffalo. That would mean this Buffalo Bills club would have to complete another extraordinary comeback, and would mean the Colts beating the Chiefs tomorrow.
No question about it. The Cinderella this year is in the AFC with the Indianapolis Colts.
2nd down and 6 from the 13 with time running down in the 3rd quarter. Morris trying to cut to the outside. Comes up short of the 1st down. He was met by White and Scholes. So that's it for the 3rd. We'll return after these messages from your local station. And the Pittsburgh Steelers with a 3rd and 2 from the 17-yard line, and the pitch apparently hit the back of the right tackle, Leon Searcy, and Andre Hastings able to come up with it. So things getting a bit sloppy
When Leon Searcy pulled out, the pitch hit him right in the back. Searcy just took too deep of a drop, and it hit him right in the back, and that could have been a disaster for the Pittsburgh Steelers to leave the Bills the ball on the 5-yard line. And now things are getting a little bit nasty because the Bills know they have a chance.
All right, Tasker is back. Scott is having his difficulties in the second half. That was only a 31-yard punt. The previous punt, 29 yards. And he's hearing it from the crowd.
In general, this crowd is getting a little bit restless. A game that seemed so comfortable just a few moments ago now is being played strictly on the Pittsburgh end of the field. And if Alex Van Pelt can create any sort of offense right here, the Buffalo Bills will be down by less than a touchdown. This is now a football game.
And the Steelers waving their arms in the direction of the crowd to get them back into it. Buffalo first down at the Pittsburgh 36. Steelers lead 26-14. Irvin Thomas, the lone deep back. And the completion to Brooks, who just did well to hold on. It's a short pickup, maybe 3 on the play. Carnell Lake was right there with him.
Billy Brooks had a stretch of games this year in which he scored 10 of the Bills' 15 touchdowns. And here comes the guy. Jim Kelly is apparently okay. And they need to get him back on the field. They may not have this good a field position again.
And he's running with enthusiasm. Van Pelt is going to make his way down to the 30-yard line. Myron Bell, the strong safety on the stop. For more on Jim Kelly, let's check in with Jim Gray. Jim?
All right, thanks, Marv. I just spoke to Jim Kelly. He says it is his right collarbone. He got some treatment inside. They were able to loosen it up, put some heat on it. He feels as though he's going to be able to return, and he's going to come back out on the field. Marv?
All right, Jim, you see Kelly warming up, trying to get ready. It's a 3rd down and 4 at the Pittsburgh 30-yard line. Van Pelt fires it in there and has a first down. Ronnie Johnson on a 6-yard catch, stopped by Lloyd. And it is a first down for the Bills at the 24-yard line. And now...
And Jim Kelly started to come back in the game, and Marv Levy pulled him back. Maybe that completion got Van Pelt at least one more play.
12 minutes, 40 seconds remaining in the 4th quarter. Thomas finding the hole. Thomas down to the 10. 14-yard run for Thurman Thomas. And now Jim Kelly is back on the field.
And this is what the Buffalo Bills were having success with early in the ball game, running right at this Pittsburgh defense. Now Jim Kelly back. This is becoming a bizarre football game.
The Bills first down at the 11. Alex Van Pelt did a nice job. Marv Levy, though, going right back to Jim Kelly, who hands it off. And Thomas gets a couple, met by Greg Lloyd. The Pittsburgh Steelers at one point led 20-0. Thurman Thomas was able to score late in the 2nd quarter on a 1-yard run. It was set up by Steve Tasker, 26-yard reception. They cut it to 20-7. It was 23-7 at the half. Then Pittsburgh extended to 26-7. But Buffalo has come back, and now Kelly finds Thomas for the touchdown, and they have come way back.
You have got to be kidding me. You have absolutely got to be kidding me. What are the Buffalo Bills without Bruce Smith, with Jim Kelly in the locker room, Alex Van Pelt playing quarterback, a 20-0 lead for the Pittsburgh Steelers, possibly the best team in the AFC, and here they come again. This has been one phenomenal year for the Buffalo Bills and Marv Levy's squad.
Steve Christie with the extra point attempt. And he pops it through. So with much time remaining, 11:23 to go on the 4th, the Steelers now clinging to a 5-point lead.
Americans love their cars.
And trucks 36 million people depend on every day. Genuine Chevrolet. Buy Miller Lite. With the great taste of an ice-cold Miller Lite, life is good. And by True Value, the official hardware store of the NFL.
Go back to the touchdown. Levon Kirkland's going to overcommit to the tight end, and Thurman Thomas working right underneath him for the easy touchdown. Wow.
11:23 to go in the fourth quarter, and Christie with the kickoff. Up by Mills. Take the handoff to Cordell Stewart. Cordell Stewart was back as one of the up-men. Sam Rogers, though, followed it right through and was able to make the tackle on Mills.
Jim Kelly just so comfortable throwing the ball around the goal line to Thurman Thomas, and that was where he was so desperately missed. And what a comeback in this game for Thurman Thomas. After the ankle injury, comes back, and Jim Kelly comes back. Halfway expect to see Bruce Smith get off the plane in a minute.
How about the Steelers' first 2 possessions of the game, 2 touchdowns, the next 10, 0. Warren Johnson has contributed 4 field goals. Morris on the reception. Stopped by David White. Picked up only 2.
And let's give Wade Phillips a lot of credit. Jim Gray told us the adjustment at halftime was to bring pressure on Neil O'Donnell, not let him sit back there. The pressure now starting to affect O'Donnell, having to dump the football out of there, and this Steeler offense has been in reverse since Wade Phillips made that adjustment.
And you can see the happy feet at times.
Absolutely.
On the part of Neil O'Donnell, and throwing the ball harder. Did not show that touch earlier. It was flipping soft passes. Here they come again, and O'Donnell gets it off nicely, completing to Mills for the first down, a 12-yard hookup, and that gets the crowd going.
A play they simply had to have. Cordell Stewart goes in motion underneath this route, again draws the coverage, and makes it easy for Ernie Mills. That's a play that's there, but as a wide receiver, it takes a lot of guts to keep running it across the middle.
First down at the 39, 5 catches for Mills for 65 yards to the ground from Morris. And a short pickup.
Well, Marv, one of the things that we talked about, would Ron Earhart go back to what got him here? You know, all those years with Parcells and all the years of being conservative and running the football. We haven't seen nearly the kind of trickery that we've seen out of the Pittsburgh Steelers this year in the past. They have gone much more conservative in this one.
This is a Pittsburgh team that led the AFC with 407 points. Second down and 8. Here comes Cordell Stewart in motion. O'Donnell intended for Stewart. That time he got the time. It'll be a 3rd down and 8 at the 41. 9 minutes, 11 seconds to go in this fourth quarter. The Pittsburgh Steelers at one stretch had a 20-0 lead. It appeared this was headed to the area of blowout. And the Bills able to come back. It is now 26-21.
And the Bills are one play away now from having the football back in their hands and a chance to go take the lead. Don't forget what happened to Pittsburgh last year in the AFC Championship game. Very similar. They had a 13-3 lead in that ball game, and then they let that lead evaporate.
And the Steelers calling for time. We'll be right back.
ABC is brought to you by Domino's Pizza. Call now and have Domino's deliver the ultimate deep dish pizza. Because when it's gotta be deep, it's gotta be Domino's.
Don't forget the controversial touchdown in the first half. Ernie Mills, this was ruled as a push-out by the officials. I totally disagree with the call. I don't think that Mills would have ever gotten that foot down, ruled a touchdown, and that was part of what gave the Steelers that big 20-0 lead in the first half.
That was early second quarter. A 10-yard touchdown pass play. And that, at the time gave the Steelers a 14-0 lead. Here's a third down and 8. And O'Donnell with the pass to Thigpen. What a catch! Yancey Thigpen doing it in front of Greg Evans, and it goes for 22 yards.
What a sensational effort by Yancey Thigpen. In a clutch situation, he's going to take a shot, hold on to the football. Last 2 weeks ago, he passes John Stallworth, the all-time single-season receiving record, and you won't come up with a bigger clutch play than that. Wow.
First down at the Buffalo 38-yard line. Yancey Thigpen making it to the Pro Bowl for the first time. Cordell Stewart was the quarterback on that handoff. Cordell is all over the field. We saw him back in kickoff return. He was in punt formation in a surprise shift. He punted the ball in the first half. He's been a receiver. He's been the quarterback. It has been slash, slash, slash here today.
And Ron Earhart showing a lot of confidence in the rookie. You don't get any tighter situation than this, and he's putting him in there.
It is a second down and 7 at the 35-yard line. It is Stewart at quarterback on the option. And Stewart gets down to the 30-yard line. Tackled by Carl Wilson. Cordell Stewart, 23-year-old rookie out of Colorado, who the last 9 games has rushed for 86 yards, 235 yards in receptions. He's thrown for 60. He's scored 3 touchdowns.
But now Neil O'Donnell back in the game in a short yardage situation, but short yardage for the Steelers now means 4 wide receivers.
There's a third down and 2 at the Buffalo 30. O'Donnell getting the time, and it's caught by Hastings. And he has a first down. Darby and Kerner on the tackle. An 18-yard pass play.
And Andre Hastings has been such a clutch third down receiver. Made a lot of people forget about the loss of Eric Green. I don't know how Kenny Irvin missed this ball, though. He was right there. He took a swipe at the ball, and it somehow just went right through his hand.
Neil O'Donnell getting better protection. Now has a first down at the Buffalo 13. 6.5 remaining, fourth quarter. Pittsburgh leading Buffalo 26-21. Morris inside the 5, touchdown. The score. And the Steelers now lead 32-21.
And Marv, it's no accident. They ran right over the position that would have been occupied by Bruce Smith.
Norm Johnson at the extra point. So with 6:16 left. The Steelers up by 12. Well, the crowd very much back into it. There was a quiet period with the Buffalo Bills turning it around dramatically, getting within 26-21, but that 13-yard run by Morris for the touchdown extends to the 33-21 lead. 76 yards in 5 minutes and 7 seconds. The return by Garrett Holmes. Excellent coverage by the Steelers.
Bobby April having some fun. Let's go back quickly to the last touchdown. Little down block on the play by Mark Bruner is what springs it. Justin Strelzik with the kick-out block, and a huge hole in there for Bam Morris in the celebration.
to the 30. Tripped up by Levon Kirkland. It'll be a 2nd down and 7 for the Buffalo Bills, who come in winners of their last 10 AFC playoff games.
And Thurman's hurting. I think he re-injured that ankle.
That injury sustained in the first half. Kelly's pass incomplete, intended for Reed. And some taunting on the part of the Steelers. Willie Williams on the coverage of Andre Reed.
Willie Williams, who got benched earlier this season after Herman Moore caught 10 passes for 131 yards against him, handled it beautifully, and has now come back and played very well today.
A lot of taunting in the direction of Reed. That after Andre was not shy about pointing out that the Steelers secondary might be vulnerable. Jerry Olszewski able to pick it off. Jerry Olszewski, who started for Chad Brown, who's made it back from an ankle injury, coming up with his first interception of the season.
Greg Lloyd brought the heat against Jim Kelly. And then Willie Williams timed it out perfectly in the secondary. Marv Levy's still hot. He thinks this was interference, and I agree. I think Willie Williams got there early.
The official's pocket. First down.
Well, apparently a flag was on the field, but it had fallen out of the pocket of one of the officials, so it's waved off.
Willie Williams either timed that one absolutely perfectly or he got there just a tad early, but the officials gave him the benefit of the doubt. And Jerry Olszewski came up with a big play, but it was Greg Lloyd who created the pressure.
So the Steelers, 1st and 10 at the Buffalo 35. Here's Morris. Getting inside the 30. David White, Cornelius Bennett combining to make the stop. 5 minutes and 15 seconds left in this 4th quarter. There is Jerry Olszewski in his 7th season out of the University of Pittsburgh.
You know, Marv, he's really done a terrific job. When Chad Brown got hurt, it really hurt this Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Olszewski's not nearly as fast. He's much more of a plotter, but he's been a guy who has made plays for this defense. Not nearly as flashy as is Chad Brown, but he has been very consistent on this defense.
2nd down and 4. Morris, and he's taken down short of the 1st down. Phil Hansen, Cornelius Bennett fighting on the tackle. And it'll be a 3rd and about 3.
Not a lot of time now for Marv Levy, Jim Kelly, and the Bills. First downs at this point in the game mean about 2 minutes off the clock, and we're quickly approaching the 4-minute mark. Almost a must play right now for this Buffalo defense.
Off the fake, O'Donnell. It's tipped and picked off. Matt Darby with the interception. So the Bills get it back. The pass intended for Jonathan Hayes.
Neil O'Donnell is upset. I think he believes Jonathan Hayes was interfered with.
Timeout taken. We'll be back in a moment.
O'Donnell's interception created on the interference by his tight end Jonathan Hayes, but it came from the official, not one of the Buffalo Bills. The official knocks off Hayes, and that's what set up the interception.
So the Bills start out from their 17. Obviously a critical drive by Buffalo with 3:55 remaining in this 4th quarter. Kelly able to get it away, and it's intercepted. Steelers get it back. Kirkland, Levon Kirkland, able to pick it off. Jim Kelly intercepted for the 3rd time this afternoon.
And that, you would assume, should finally do it. Greg Lloyd again came with the pressure off the corner. Jim Kelly was trying to get the ball originally to the outside, but when he saw Lloyd, he flipped back around and tried to get it inside. Never saw LaVon Kirkland. And it is the defense of the Pittsburgh Steelers that is going to win this football game.
And Kirkland with his first interception of the season. Did not have one during the regular campaign. First down at the Buffalo 23-yard line. Morris on the slant, ripping inside the 15.
You know, Marv, maybe it took a game like this for the Pittsburgh Steelers to exercise those demons of the game against the San Diego Chargers in the championship game a year ago. They were tested. The Buffalo Bills came all the way back. There was the thought of another fold. Bill Cowher just 1-3 in playoff games despite the marvelous record as his 4 years as the head coach here. Maybe it took a game like this for the Steelers to get over the hump.
Yes, last year they came within a fingertip of taking the Super Bowl. Morris, who has run so well, inside the 5. So it sets up a 1st and goal for Bam Morris, who has carried 24 times for 104 yards.
Just straight ahead power football. Forget all the Cordell Stewart, the 5 wide receivers, the slash, all the stuff that we've been seeing. When it gets down to crunch time, the Steelers can still do this. Mark, this is a very complete team. Solid defense, good quarterback play, a versatile offense. They have a chance.
1st and goal at the 3. John L. Williams, who scored earlier from a yard away, stopped by Monty Brown and Kurt Scholl. We approach the 2-minute warning. Wade Phillips trying to call for a timeout. And timeout is taken with 2 minutes, 3 seconds to go in this 4th quarter. It'll be a 2nd and goal at the 2 for Pittsburgh. Here today will face the winner between Indianapolis and Kansas City. That'll be tomorrow right here on NBC starting at 3:30 Eastern Time. All gets underway with Greg Gumbel, Ahmad Rashad, Mike Ditka, Joe Gibbs, Joe Montana on the NFL on NBC.
And what a great year Steve Bono has had filling in for Joe Montana. Nobody thought that he could have taken this team to the best record in the AFC, and of course Kansas City heavily favored, and now Kevin Green says that you guys have made this our place, that we win here, but next week they either have to go to Kansas City. Well, I guess they could still have a home playoff game if Indianapolis won it.
Off the 2nd and goal from the 2. Let's see, no indication now. The indication of a touchdown. Bam Morris with his 2nd touchdown of the game. Bill Cowher's family. So the Steelers now lead 39-21.
And this was such a marvelous matchup between one of the great young coaches in the game and one of the greatest, Marv Levy, the veteran coach, young against old. But Bill Cowher continues to get it done for the Pittsburgh Steelers. What a record he has put together here.
And Norm Johnson adds the extra point. The early celebration has begun here at Three Rivers. A touchdown by Morris. And it is Pittsburgh in command now, 40-21. Day for Jim Kelly, although there was a glimmer of hope with the Bills getting back into it, but Kelly, 14 of 29, 135 yards, and the big number 3 interceptions.
And this really has not been the style of play that has gotten the Buffalo Bills here. They're a much better team when they can run the football, spot the passing game, but with the big lead that Pittsburgh got off to, they had to change their approach, and this really has not been their style.
And the 40 points by the Steelers ties the most points that Pittsburgh has ever scored in a playoff game. Back in 1976, they defeated the Baltimore Colts 40-14. Minute 58 remaining in this fourth quarter. Holmes and Tyndale are back for the kickoff. And here's Holmes, 25, spinning his way to the 30-yard line and gang tackled. A return of 16. Mike Devlin, backup center for the Buffalo Bills, receiving some compassion from Greg Lloyd. Coming up on our post-game show, a preview of tomorrow's AFC Divisional matchup between the Indianapolis Colts and the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll also, of course, have post-game interviews from the Buffalo Bills and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Conversation between Kevin Green and John Fina.
In that game tomorrow, you just simply cannot say enough about the job that Jim Harbaugh has done with that football team this year. I mean, he came out of nowhere, and the expectations, they brought Erickson in there as a free agent, and everybody expected him to be the man, and Jim Harbaugh started the year as a backup. And really, but for the year that Brett Favre had, he really was the guy that carried his football team more than any other quarterback this year.
And Chris, remember Jim Harbaugh beat the Chiefs in Kansas City 2 years ago as a member of the Chicago Bears. Not the Chiefs, out of home field advantage right throughout the AFC playoff picture. Alex Van Pelt is back in at quarterback with a minute and 50 to go in this fourth quarter. Deep drop by Van Pelt and completes out at midfield to the tight end Tony Klein. It's good for 16. Myron Bell on the coverage. Clock stopped as he got out of bounds. Minute 46 remaining in this fourth quarter. So the final stats on Kelly: 14 of 29, 135 yards, 1 touchdown, and he was picked off 3 times.
I'll do a few interviews during the game.
Sure.
That's comfortable now. Yancey Thigpen made that catch. Don't forget about that one.
Yancey ready to talk about it also at this point. Incomplete.
Which he usually is, if you know Yancey. He's more than willing to carry on a conversation. I don't think that Green Bay drop bothered him too much at all today.
Pass intended for Yonel Jourdain, the second-year man out of Southern Illinois. There he is, and he should have had it.
Harvey, was interesting this week talking with Bill Cowher, and as he reminisced about the Steelers in their heyday back in the 70s, and he said that this football team or that team really gave this city an identity, and you can sense that once again with these fans. They just love the Pittsburgh Steelers. There are other basketball towns, football or baseball towns. This is a football town. These people, they love the game of football, and they take so much pride in the Steelers.
And Bill, a guy from this area, grew up with great admiration for Jack Lambert. Said that was his hero growing up.
He's a big, tall, skinny guy, had no teeth. He looked like a vampire with no teeth staring at you. I'll never forget Jack Lambert. The first time he ever tackled me, he got me down and he started grinding on me a little bit. He said, "Collinsworth, don't you run back over the middle again like that." And I was so happy he knew my name. I was. I went back to the huddle. I said, "Jack Lambert." He knew my name. I was so excited about it.
That pass intended for Andre Reed. A minute 31 remaining. In this fourth quarter, the Pittsburgh Steelers are on their way back to the AFC Championship game. Last year in the playoffs, they beat Cleveland and then lost in the title game. The AFC AFC Championship, beaten by the Chargers 17-13.
Marv, it's hard to think what this game may have been had Bruce Smith been here.
Just getting the play off, and Pelt took a good shot as he comes up incomplete, and that is it. So the Steelers take over on downs with a minute 26 remaining in the fourth quarter. Well, the Pittsburgh Steelers could end up playing the Indianapolis Colts or the Kansas City Chiefs. See the records against both clubs postseason.
And that one Chiefs game, remember Pittsburgh and Kansas City, that was the block punt game in which the Steelers had that one very much in hand, get the punt block, ended up costing John Guy, the special teams coach of the Steelers, his job. But wouldn't that be a marvelous rematch? Those two teams getting back together in some of the history of that game.
The Steelers just looking to run out the clock as we come up on 1 minute remaining, and Bill Cowher and his Steelers are headed back to the AFC Championship game. What a job by Bill Cowher, putting together an impressive 3 years as head coach. And his clubs have had the best record in the AFC on 2 occasions now, those 3 years. Crowd celebrating.
You know, Marv, this is good to see. I love what's happening in football right now at Green Bay. The players jumping in the stands, celebrating, involving the fans again. With all that has happened over the past couple years with strikes and baseball and basketball and football, it's good to see the relationship building once again with the fans.
All right, third down play, 15 seconds to go. Kneel down.
You saw Bill Cowher on the sideline. He said 2 more. 2 more. No question. This team's goal this year is just one, and that's winning it all.
And time has run out as the Pittsburgh Steelers have defeated the Buffalo Bills 40-21. And the Steelers will go back to the AFC Championship. Neil O'Donnell, 19 of 35, 262 yards. Bam Morris, 106 yards on the ground. Let's go to Jim Gray on the field. Jim?
All right, thank you very much, Marv. Well, it seemed very easy, Coach Cowher, in the first half. You jumped out to a 20-0 lead. How much were you able to take advantage of Bruce Smith not being here?
Well, you know, that's hard to say. Obviously, that was a big minus for them, but our guys battled back, and you know Buffalo. I mean, even though we were up, we knew they were coming back, and our offense put a great drive together right there in the fourth quarter, and from there we kind of fed off this crowd. It's 1 of 3.
It seemed that Marv Levy and Wade Phillips were able to make some adjustments in the second half and put a lot more pressure on Neil O'Donnell.
Well, they did. But they've been down this road before. They got a lot of good players, and it's a hard place to come in and play. And our fans have been fantastic all year. And I just can't be more proud of a bunch of guys who got to kind of resolve. And we're not.
How important to exercise that loss last year against San Diego and come back and win a playoff game?
Our guys will keep it in perspective. Like I said, we're going to be down this road before. I don't care where we go, but we're looking forward to playing.
Thanks, Bill. Congratulations. Let's go back upstairs to Marv.
All right, Jim. So Bill Cowher and his Pittsburgh Steelers defeating the Buffalo Bills 40-21. Coming up, the post-game report with Greg Gumbel. Marv Albert with Chris Collinsworth and Jim Gray saying so long from Pittsburgh.